Hey guys, Green Ranger here from Team Yahtzee, bringing you my Blackwing deck profile today. I have been using Blackwing since 2010, and I continue to use them today, as they have always been my favorite deck. I'm very excited to be making this video today, because this is a deck that is very near to me. So let's hop right in. Before we start, I would like to point out, I'm not going to go too much in depth as to what the cards do. The Blackwing deck has been out for quite some time now, so chances are you probably already know the effects of every card in this deck. I will touch some base on some of the choices that I do have in here though, because I'm sure if you look at this, you will question some of the cards I have in here. But if one thing all players do know, player preference is a huge deal in creating decks, so just please keep that in mind. So to start, we're going to start with 3 Blizzards. He's a +1 when you summon him, and he is just such a good card. He can't be special summoned, which is his only downfall, and if he did not have that clause to him, he would be amazing. When you summon him, you get a +1. You can special summon any level 4 lower monster from your graveyard in defense position. Again, it's a +1, which gives you advantage, and it helps you set up for all of your synchro plays, which, I know, call me crazy, people still synchro. The next card I'd like to show you is Bora. In my opinion, Bora has always been the workhorse of this deck. His special summoning ability and piercing and 1700 body for level 4 is just very versatile. In this game, I love versatility, and the fact that he can pierce over pesky Spirit Reapers or any monsters that are in defense position. He can special summon, give you, or help you maintain field advantage. I love that about cards in today's game, and Bora is a very good example. We have 1 Gale. Obviously, you'd run more if you could, but you can't. He can permanently half the attack of any monster as long as that monster stays on the field. And just like Bora, he has that special summoning ability, which is very, very important in this deck. 2 Kalut. Arguably the most broken Blackwing monster that we have. Any Blackwing that attacks or is attacked, whether it's directly or in battle, you discard your Kalut, your Blackwing monster gains 1400. Again, versatility. I cannot stress this enough with this deck. You can attack me, I can drop Kalut. Save my monster, kill yours. I attack you, drop it with onto a Bora. Increase the amount of piercing damage I do. Save my monster. Drop it onto a Shura. Destroy your monster, special summon with Shura's effect. The plays are there, he's always been there, and it's just such a great card, and the fact that he's now back up to 2 is amazing, and we welcome that with open arms, and would love to get a 3rd. The next card is Shura, probably the main body of the deck. An 1800 level 4 seems to be the standard in today's game, which we have a nice one here. His effect, if you can get his effect off in multiple times in a duel, it's a very good thing. But his effect is not as, in my opinion, it's not as good as it used to be. When he destroys a monster in battle, you special summon a monster with 1500 attack or less. That effect's negated. The only problem, at least for my personal builds, the only targets I would have for that is a Gale and 2 Kaluts. The Kalut you always want in your hand, and arguably Gale you want in your hand. So it doesn't give you many targets that you really want out on the field unless you're pushing for game or you have some other place set up. So to me, Shura's effect isn't as good as it used to be. When you had 3 Kaluts, you can easily spare a Kalut to use on this effect, knowing you still have 2 Kaluts left to use as hand traps. I still love it as an 1800 beat stick, and there are some times where you want to take that Gale or even that Kalut to push for extra damage, but to me, Shura does not have that same fear factor that he used to have when we had more Gales and Kaluts at our disposal. Probably the most controversial decision I have in this deck are my 3 Sirokkos. Everyone says they clog, Everyone hates them. No one likes to run them. But I'm going to tell you right now, player preference, I cannot get rid of any of them. They have helped me so much more having 3 than it would having 1, none, or 2. First off, Allure of Darkness. You have to remove a Blackwing monster. A dark monster. I do not want to get rid of any of these Blackwing monsters. At all. The only ones I would consider getting rid of is one Blizzard or a Sirocco. So if nothing else, he is a great card to get rid of with Allure of Darkness. Thunder Kings run rampant this format. I cannot tell you how many times my opponent will summon a Thunder King, set a couple pass, and I'm able to counter by normal summoning that Sirocco that Thunder King cannot negate, because it is a normal summon, and run over his Thunder King. He's a lot better than you think, people. I promise you that. Him in combination with Bora, everyone knows that combo, 3700 beater. He is a lot better than people think, and I do not think he gets enough credit. And my personal preference for the people I play at my locals, and just my experience with this deck, I guess I'm crazy, but I like 3 of them, so I will continue with 3. Zephyros was probably one of the only few recent, if you can even call it recent anymore, Blackwing support cards we've had. Blackwings have been infamous for terrible support cards, but when we got Zephyros not too long ago, he actually has a good effect by bouncing any face-up card, special summon. It helps give us back some of that swarming capability, and just really sets up some plays for us. The amount of plays are actually very good. Obviously, you guys probably know them. You can normal your Bora, bounce him, special summon Zephyros, special summon your Bora, exceed, or just have 2 monsters on the field. You can do that with Gale. There's so many plays there, and it's actually a great card, but obviously with his effect, you can only use it once per duel. You really only want to run 1. Dark Arm Dragon, another MVP of the deck. If you draw him starting hand, and you can play into him, this is when the deck shines. I cannot tell you how many duels I've won with this deck, with this card. He is limited for a reason. He's amazing. And Gores, I've always thought was perfect for this deck, because in my opinion, Blackwing's biggest weakness is we do overextend. Contrary to that, though, the more popular playstyle to play today among Blackwing players is the slow control-based. But since I've been dueling with them for almost 3 years now, I've always liked the more aggressive approach with them, and I think they can still do that. And the fact that we got that second Kalut, I think we can still pull that off. However, I have found so many times that I'm able to do 6,000, up 6,300, 7,000 damage, but you would leave yourself defenseless. Maybe no back row, 1, maybe 2 cards in your hand, to where if your opponent had a Dark Hole or a Heavy Storm or some really answer the next turn, you're almost in jeopardy of losing. And Gores really is that last line of defense, that if you overextend and your opponent can come back from that, Gores is that last nice line of defense that you have that can maybe keep you from losing, from overextending. So I really like Gores in this deck as well. Obviously, I'm going to run a Lure for more draw power, the 1 Whirlwind for searching, 1 Book of Moon, versatility. Dark Eruption, I really like this card. I used to run Mind Control in this deck, but I dropped Mind Control for Dark Eruption. Mind Control, I just did not seem to get as much use out of it as I would like. In Dark Eruption, it lets me reuse any of my Blizzards, put my Kaluts back into my hand, or my Gales. I really love this card. I think I ran 2 of them when Kalut was initially limited, and I didn't really like it, but for some reason I teched this one in, and it's actually been paying off amazingly. So I really like keeping this card in. 1 Dark Hole, 2 Lance, and again, the theme with this deck for me is versatility. Lance, another very versatile card. I can use an offense, summoning my monster. If you activate your torrential tribute, activate Lance, save my monster, you wasted your torrential. Use it for defense, you attack me, lance your monster, make your monster lose 800 attack, perhaps save my monster, kill yours. I love versatility, and this card is so much of that. 1 heavy, 1 monster reborn, 2 mystical space typhoon, and 2 duality. For the traps, we have the 3 Icarus attacks. Some people run 2, I like 3. Icarus is so versatile. Again, you can use it, destroy 2 back row, 2 monsters, 1 back row, 1 monster, any combination of 2. I cannot tell you how many duels I have won with this card. It's just an amazing card. You want to see it as much as possible. It can be dead sometimes if you don't have a Blackwing in hand, or if you don't have enough. It can be dead, but it's that risk you have to take with this card. 1 Mirror Force. I'll be dead honest with you, I really don't like Mirror Force anymore. It does not have that effect, in my opinion, that it once had. It seems when I use it, I'm only getting 1, maybe 2 monsters off the field with it, to the point where I do as much of that with an Icarus attack. I don't think Mirror Force has that field cleaning ability that it used to have. So many people prepare for it. So many people I've seen switch a monster into defense mode because they know or they're preparing for that Mirror Force, and then they run into it and they only lose 1 monster off of it. And I just think, really, it just doesn't have that same feel and effect that I think it used to. I play 1 for the longest time. I didn't have 1 in the deck. I think I had 1-sided. But I put it back in because, I don't know, if anything, it was more of a gut feeling. But to me, Mirror Force, that's a card I just don't know if I see eye to eye with anymore. You have the Solemn Brigade, which you all know what that does, and 2 Torrential, which, again, this was another card. It seemed like with Torrential, you're only getting 1 to 2 monsters, and sometimes I draw it in a time where I would not want to use it. It's too good not to have in your deck, but I find constantly more and more that I'm really beginning to come at odds with it. Like, I would much have rather had a different card in my hand than this. But again, it has saved me way more times than it's hurt me, so obviously I'm going to keep that in. We'll go into the side really fast. 2 Crow, 2 Valors, and 2 Maxi. If you don't main a Maxi or Valor, you better have them sided. 1-dimensional Fisher, mainly for any Chaos Dragon or Lightsworn variant. 2 System Down. I've seen a lot of Gear Gia decks and Machina Gadgets. I'm not a big fan of Cyber Dragons in this deck, or Chimera Tech Fortress, so I like having System Downs against Machine type decks. 2 Bottomless and 2 Compulse. I like having extra monster hate in my side. I'm not too keen of having these cards main decked. I like my Lances, I like my Dark Eruptions, and I like my MSTs more than this. I feel between my Icarus attacks and my Torrential, I have enough monster destruction there. Plus, I can use my Lances to help weaken my opponent's monsters. So I feel like in my main deck, against most decks, I have enough answers for monsters. However, if I do play against a Chaos Dragon, or something that might be more monster heavy, I will side out my MSTs, my Heavy Storm, cards that are just generally dead against those decks, and I can side in to more monster hate. To my Compulses, which are very versatile, and side in my Bottomless Trap Holes. And then Skill Drain. I love Skill Drain. I think it hurts so many decks. However, I think one deck it really doesn't hurt is mine. I can still Synchro. I can still throw cards like Sirocco on the field. A normal 2,000 beater that's very good under Skill Drain. Shura is still an 1,800 beater. I can still use my Collude effect while Skill Drain's on the field. So Skill Drain I do not feel hurts my deck as much as it hurts anybody else's deck. I really like it in my side deck. The extra deck, this is where I feel Blackwings took the hardest hit. With no Trishula, with no Dark Strike Fighter, and with no Brio, the extra deck options have been very limited or very generic. Catastor, Black Rose, Armed Wing, they're all good. Again, with Armor Master, Dark End, Iron Chain, Mistworm, Stardust, Vortex. They're all good cards, but they're not as good as they used to be. But it's hard because Blizzard, which is your main source of synchroing, there are not that many good options anymore for this deck. I did not realize how much a Brio banning would hurt this deck, but it really hurt this deck. I cannot stress that enough. Brio was one of the best cards this deck could make. And now that it cannot make that, it really, truly hurt that deck. Also, for being a deck, I only have 4 tuners. And a lot of times, to be honest, I don't synchro with Gale. So a lot of times, my main synchroing comes from my Blizzard plays, which a lot of times, I'm getting a Bora or a Shura with it. So, a lot of my extra deck is going to be level 6. Well, with Brio, that got over a lot of problem cards. Now my level 6 is an Iron Chain Dragon, which I am actually a big fan of him because I like his milling capability, and he has a decent body to him. Or an Armed Wing. Armed Wing's piercing doesn't do as much as it used to, and with some decks today, or most decks today, making them mill almost helps them. So the level 6s that we have access to for this extra deck have really been limited, and to me, if you can find some good level 6 synchros, that could be very key to winning with this deck. So that is probably my biggest question mark with this deck, is its extra deck has been very hurt, limited, that is obviously its Achilles heel in my opinion. So that does it for the deck profile. I just want to point out a few things. Again, as I've said earlier, I've used this deck for 3 years now, and it's always been a deck that's been very near to me. I love the archetype. I love the winged beast and the bird looking of the cards. I just love that about this deck. There has never been a deck that made me walk away from Blackwings. When I picked up Blackwings, I had 3 Kalutes, double Whirlwind, and 1 Gale. That's when I picked the deck up. It did everything I wanted it to do in a deck. It could swarm. It was fast. It had 3 Book of Moons. It was versatile. It could synchro. I had Trish. I had Brio. The only thing I did not have, I did not play Blackwings when we had Dark Strike Fighter. But it did everything I wanted a deck to do. And that's what made me fall in love with it. I picked up a Bora one day. I was actually running gadgets before Machinas came out. I picked up a Bora, read his effect, and looked up the rest of the archetype. Because I said, man, Bora is such a good card. If the rest of the cards in this archetype are any good at all, this is the archetype I want to run. Fell in love with Shura, Gale, Kalutes. I just fell in love with the deck. Been using it ever since. I've played other decks. The last regional I went to, I actually played Samurai. It was my first regional. I played Samurai. I've played lineups before. Played Ninjas and Zectors. I played other decks. However, I've always found myself coming back to Blackwings. And to be honest, at least for the rest of this format, I want to stay with Blackwings. I apologize for the timing out due to inactivity, but I got through the whole profile, which is all that matters. So, I just wanted to point a few of those things out. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them, especially the comments part. If you have any suggestions, I'm always looking for ways to make this deck better, to try to keep up with the meta game. I feel my toughest matchups right now are Dark Worlds and Atlanteans. I like my matchups against a lot of other decks, and I feel if my matchup isn't good, I can cover a lot of it in my side deck. So if you have any specific suggestions for Atlanteans, that probably what kills me the most. That and maybe Agents. I would love to hear them. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I know it's kind of long, but I'm not really big into limiting the time on my videos. I really wanted to point some of these things out. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Please leave all your questions and comments down below, and see you guys later.